Welcome to Gender Pop. I'm your host, Carly, and I want to know, are you donning your best pink and brushed up on your legalese for this episode? I sure hope so. Corinna Ren is back to discuss a modern classic comedy, 2001's Legally Blonde. It's girly, it's reaffirming, and really makes me never want to get a perm. All right, give your toy dog a pat and let's get into it. Karina, welcome back to Gender Pop.
Hi, how's it going?
Going great. I'm really excited to talk about Legally Blonde with you today.
Yeah,
It's chock full of gender goodness in this movie, so
it
it was an
is.
excellent pick.
I feel like it's a standard for the genre we are in right now. So, yeah.
Especially for the time we grew up in as well. It's a pretty seminal film, and it's interesting, and it's a good one to have had access to as a young girl as well, I think.
Yes.
So the movie came out in 2001. It's directed by Robert Luckedick. Right, the writers are Amanda Brown, Karen McCullough, and Kirsten Smith. So that's kind of cool that it's all women writers. I think one of those is the author, because I didn't know it was originally based off of a book of the same name.
I didn't know
Um,
that either.
yeah, I only just found it last night. So I want to say I think Amanda Brown is maybe the author of the book. But yeah, all three principal writers on this film were women, which is really cool. It makes a lot of sense too, I think. Um,
I'm
and
so glad you
the
got that info because I did not know. I didn't get a chance to dive into any of the info on the movie at all. I was just
yeah, I
analyzing
didn't
it like
I
scene by
just
scene.
it was just kind of a thing I just learned last night when I was doing research, and I immediately was like, well, I should check that out of the library because I'm interested to see how different or similar it is to what the movie ended up being. But the uh, the synopsis for it on IMDb says a fashionable sorority queen, Elle Woods, follows her ex-boyfriend to law school, where she discovers that there is more to her than just looks.
I
Do you think
mean,
that covers it?
yeah, I actually
Yeah.
do. Yeah.
Although Boo Warner, I don't even like him being mentioned in the synopsis.
Okay, read the beginning part again because I was finishing with that last bit in my head and I was like, no, I mean like that sums up the plot line. What
No,
was the
yeah,
beginning?
it was. Hold on, let me just bring it back up real quick. I should really just keep everything up. I should have learned that by now. Fashionable sorority queen Elle Woods follows her ex-boyfriend to law school.
Oh, okay, so they don't say his name. They're just
No,
saying
no, no,
his.
no.
I was like, I don't feel like I heard the name Warner. What did they
He
say? Okay,
doesn't
yeah, yeah.
he doesn't deserve the mention. He's a
I
piece of
mean,
shit.
if I was writing a synopsis for this
Mm,
movie or like a one a
mm.
sentence, that's it. I mean, that
Yeah,
captures a lot of the main points. Yep.
yeah,
She did it for the wrong reasons, but then she discovered herself, I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
So, where did you see this when it came out? What is kind of your connection or relationship to this film?
When did I see it? It had to have been high school.
Hmm.
Um, Everyone loved this movie. And I finally watched it. I couldn't tell you who I watched it with, or I'm sure it was like with some friends or something.
Mm,
Um, I definitely didn't get it. I didn't
mm,
understand.
hmm.
I definitely I'm trying to think of like the times, right? The 2000s,
Yeah.
which were very like hyper stereotypes. I mean, you're talking about like Victoria's Secret and
Hmm.
um I'm trying to think of like all the examples. I mean, the low-rise jeans and
Like the heroin chic kind of look, which is gross. That was even a thing.
I mean all of it, the thin eyebrows,
Yeah.
the intense eyeshadows. I mean, it was all about like how we looked as women and the girly girl culture, which you and I have talked about before, I never really
Hmm.
understood. And so
Hmm.
um surface level visually, just based off of
Mm.
how Elle is portrayed, especially at the beginning of the film, it was very
Hmm.
easy for me to just write it off as like, just this whole world that I don't understand. And like, I definitely did not understand the subtext. I was not in any way smart enough to pick up on. the story and what they were actually saying with all of this. I mean, it wasn't easy because so much of it is wrapped up in her sounding silly, you know what I mean? And it's very
Yeah.
like simplistic in her achievements as well. Like, well, we're gonna get into it, so maybe we should because I have like scene by scene
I mean,
notes,
go
but
go for it. I mean,
okay,
just
all right,
launch
okay.
straight into it.
So like one of the first moments that she's using because we can go into like the good side of it too, but my
Yeah.
criticism is I really wish that they embraced her intelligence more. You know,
Mm.
they kind of try to and like even when she's talking to her friends or the sorority girls or whatever, she uses words that you wouldn't expect her to use and stuff. But they still dumb it down. You know, when
Mm.
she is rescuing the dog with Paulette, which is a great scene, she's using all this lawyer lingo she learned, but incorrectly, right? She brings up
Yeah.
habeas corpus, and it's like, wait, what?
What?
I just found it ridiculous. Like I was like, why can't you just have her actually using knowledge she's picked up, you know? And even the end, you know, her big win is based off of something a little silly, which I
Mm.
don't think is necessarily a bad thing, but
Mm-mm.
again, like the way they go about it, they're still working off of this kind of goofier side of her, and I'm like, I wish they would have leaned into more of like just how smart she is, but I do understand that they were trying to make a point, and so maybe they didn't need to, but that's like my one little well. I think I have other criticisms, but that's one criticism I have. And those are things that I couldn't relate to. So I was
Mm.
like, it was again, I didn't understand feminism. Um, I didn't understand. Okay, there's a thought brewing here. Let me think how I can put this. And it's very interesting to think about because we're taught to see this type of being female as ridiculous in a lot of
Yeah.
ways as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I you know, that's how I had bought into it too. So I
Mm-hmm.
was looking at all of this as ridiculous, as negative,
Yeah.
and that I think is a huge reason why I wrote off the film. But I was a child, like what did I know?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, and the world that I was growing up in didn't equip me to understand, the story and the subtext at all. So anyway, that was a lot of talking. So why don't you move on? Let's move on.
No, I mean, I was just kind of like shaking my head to it, like agreeing with it because, since we were, we're her similarly not super girly, I resisted this film for a long time. I don't recall when I first saw it. I'm trying to remember if I was even an adult already or not. I probably saw it in high school too or something. I'd seen like bits and pieces. Of course, I knew about it. It's become a very popular, well-known and like quoted film and everything. But like even you just look at that opening of the credits and it's just like oppressively girly. And like for someone that kind of I tried to resist girliness for a long time before I just became more informed and knowledgeable about it and everything and realized that that type of girliness is perfectly fine and valid as well. Um, so I think I just kind of I still see people refer to this as like a chick flick, and I really like wince at that kind of
Okay.
genre label.
That's the
Uh,
term I was looking for. I was like, what
yeah,
was it about these films? Like, that was me writing it off. It's a chick flick,
yeah,
and I don't
yeah.
like chick flicks, you know? And so, yeah. Yep.
But even
Thank you.
like a YouTube video when I was doing research last night, it was a video made by a female YouTuber, ostensibly, and she kept referring to it as a chick flick too. And she wasn't yeah, she was I don't know, she wasn't saying it with like a lot of disdain or whatever, but she was saying it in like a dismissive way, and I just was really annoyed. I'm like, in the year 2025, why are we still using this term? But yeah, so yeah, my kind of initial relationship with it was like a bit rocky. I was just like, this is not a film for me. I'm not the target for this. This is for I
Yes.
bought into the exact archetype that it's trying to bust with like and like you were pointing out hyper femininity has often been villainized, especially like in
Yes.
pop culture. You think of just like Regina George from Mean Girls, like that's kind of the attitude culture has had towards the quote unquote like bimbo type or whatever. And
Yes.
I just took one look at this film and assumed that's kind of what it was about again. And then it's obviously much more than that. It's obviously trying to subvert that. And it's also trying to, it's like maybe one of the few, or at least of that time, movies to not villainize that type of character, to make them the kind of quote unquote hero of it, and to also show that being hyper feminine doesn't make you automatically dumb or shallow, and can also, the interests that we associate with that, like her fashion, her makeup, whatever, can actually be an asset. Like you were saying, you wanted her to be more intelligent, and and you kind of specifically pointed out the example of what helps her win the court case at the end. I can definitely see how it's like annoying that it kind of reverted back. And I don't know if you want to say reverted, but
Yeah, it didn't
it
revert,
was
and I
predicated off of those kind of quote unquote hyper
right.
feminine things. But I
But I
also,
get that that was the point as well.
yeah,
Like it was again trying to validate these hyper feminine traits. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And go like, look, it can even be useful in a court case, which
yeah.
I understand that, but I couldn't relate to it. So it was easier for me to get frustrated by it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. Because it's those interests that other people would label as vapid that are what kind of end up allowing her to succeed as a lawyer. So it's like it does do this really interesting kind of like we're gonna take all of the audience's preconceived notions about what this character is gonna be and like turn it on their heads and maybe make them question how they judge people who present themselves like this, whether
Yeah.
on screen or in real life or both. Um,
I mean, they did that consistently throughout the film, right? They did
yeah,
it.
yeah.
So again, all the like vocabulary that she had, she would know the details about things. Like even when it came to the whole perm thing at the end, she knows like
Yeah.
the chemicals that are in the perm and
Yeah.
why like that specifically. Like it's like a very kind of scientific take on it. You know, when she's in the store buying a dress and the clerk is trying to what
Upseller.
yeah, and not upsell, but like pull the wool over her eyes on selling it at full price
Yeah,
versus
she
what it
thinks
should
she's
be.
someone she can take advantage of because she's
Right,
perceiving her as being dumb.
right. But she not only knows better, she knows all these details, which, by the way,
Or
since I've
gibberish.
well, it wasn't gibberish to me. That was the best part. Watching it now versus decades ago when I first saw this movie, because I was like, oh no, I like sew now. Like I make clothes and I understand these things. And I'm like, I know exactly what she's talking
That's
about. I
interesting
was
because
like,
when I
oh
was
my
doing
gosh.
research, people said that that actually didn't make sense and her response wasn't true. Like it
No,
was
it wasn't necessarily true, but like I love that they used like all
yeah.
this I just meant like the lingo. Like I
Yeah,
know
yeah.
I know what rayon is. Low
High
viscosity rayon. I've
viscosity.
never I've never heard of that before,
Yeah.
but I also understood like the concept that they were going for. So like
Yeah.
if you're working with like a type of satin or something and you're trying to sew, with the wrong needle or so they weren't talking about like the needles and stuff. They didn't go too far into it,
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
there are details to sewing that matter is my point. Like
Yeah.
I understood what they were going for
Hmm.
there, where
Hmm.
like if you tried to sew a certain material with the wrong needle or the wrong thread, like it's going to snag or bunch or be really difficult to work with. And I was like, oh my gosh, the sewing nerd in me is watching this being like, I get it.
Yeah, and I mean it's just there to demonstrate earlier on in the film, that there's more to her than meets the eye, and
Right,
it's
exactly.
I think it kind of makes the audience hope that that comes out more, and obviously it does because kind of has to push through her ex-boyfriend Warner's stuff to kind of be the catalyst to um, have her capabilities show more, and it's yeah, it's funny because when I watched that scene this time, it reminded me of the store scene from Pretty Woman. Have you seen Pretty Woman?
So I haven't seen Pretty Women.
Okay.
I
There's just a similar scene. It's not really spoilery or anything, but it's like obviously she's a character that doesn't come from a lot of money, and then when she gets with Richard Gere's character, she has access to money. She goes shopping, the person's like telling her this isn't really like a store for her. She's a riffraff, get out of here and stuff. And, she finds, she ends up kind of just telling her that she has the money to afford it. She could have bought a lot of stuff and she just says big mistake, big. And that's kind of like
I
became a
do
bit of a cultural moment around that. So it's like
I do know
interesting
that
that, yeah,
scene. Yeah, it's
yeah,
referenced in other things I've seen.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
very
yeah.
well aware of like that storyline. And I saw somebody comparing Elle and that character as
Mm.
well as having very similar arcs and ways of overcoming. And so, yeah, I totally hear you. I don't remember
It's
what
kind of
else I
just
was
a
going to
cool
say.
updated version or more modernized version of that. I mean, I guess it's not super modern anymore since this movie's like 25 years old, but
It's crazy.
um but yeah, I just what did you make since we've name checked him so much already? What did you make of like the breakup scene between her and Warner and like his reasons for breaking up with her and how that ends up informing Elle's character going forward?
It's infuriating. I,
Yep.
I, wish I could reach into the screen and it's just, it's so dehumanizing and
Mm,
like, it just really paints the picture of what it means to live in patriarchy, right? And these men that
mm,
just think that on the one side, he has Elle to just, enjoy and eye candy and whatever, and,
yeah.
male gaze and whatever. But then he gets to pick another woman to fill the other parts of it. Like, it's just like he gets to pick and choose between women to fill the things that he needs.
Yeah.
And it's so disgusting. Like, it's just, ugh, I wish I could shake that feeling off because it's really horrible. And then for Elle, obviously it's really disappointing to watch her completely change her whole life for this one
Yeah.
horrible, horrible human. I'm really glad with where the story goes. With it, obviously, like it was a happy accident in a lot of ways that she ended up in a field that she ended up being really passionate about, and like
Hmm.
good for her. But what got her there is really unfortunate. But I will say that, like, I'm just trying to think of how to apply this to how they paint Elle. Because even that opening scene, right? I feel like they're really trying to communicate the world that
Yeah.
Elle is from, right?
Definitely. Yep.
And these are, I mean, it's her Bible, right? The Cosmopolitan. These are, th this is who women are in Elle's world. These are the things
Hmm.
that they like. These are the things that they know about. This is how they're supposed to look. This is how they're supposed to behave. And Elle is someone immediately presented as like Queen Bee. All these women adore her and like, but she knows the game. That was what really like
Hmm.
just the whole movie I was watching. I was like, Elle's intelligence is shown right from the start because she's somebody who's born into a world and immediately grasps how to not only survive, but be at the top of that world,
Yeah.
right? According to the rules that were set for her. She got to know those rules really, really well. She got really good at it. She knows exactly how she's supposed to be so that she can be at the top of that world. Is there a lot of pretty privilege and class privilege wrapped up into that? Yes. But
It's
still, this
also
is
very heavy on white feminism. It's not a very
right.
diverse,
Right. Except for like a
a
couple
few.
moments where they're
Yeah.
like includes, and I'm like, okay, but yes, absolutely. But we have to live within the context of Elle's world because I
Yep.
mean that is a reality, right? I mean, there
Yep.
are women like Elle, and those are the limitations of their world as well. And but yeah,
Yep.
I mean, you see it right off the bat. And again, they really bring it home with how she talks and the things that she knows about and how she really excels at everything, right? And then when it comes to Warren, she wants him. And this is a woman who knows how to get what she wants. She's very good at that. She's very good at using her skills and her know-how. And I'll call them skills, even though she's using her body, because it is a skill to know how to
Hmm.
use your body. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like
Yeah.
she learned that skill very, very well. And you see that a lot
Yep.
throughout the film too. So disappointing, the motivation, but obviously it turns around for the best. So, and it was the point. So yeah,
Yeah, I really hated his whole line of like I need a Jackie, not a Maryland or whatever. And
I
it's just
have that
like
in my notes too.
it
Yeah.
plays because it's like obviously this is just such an explicit reference to the real world and it's so it's playing off of the our own boxes that because like this movie I kind of said the similar thing about Little Giants actually, but this movie like takes it to a whole other level, especially because it's like, dealing with adults. Um, really, even Beyond L is about how like suffocating the kind of boxes we're put into because like until Elle goes to Harvard and like what you were talking about how like the opening does a lot of world building even for how girly it is like there is a very extreme point about it too like right off the bat like shove us into what her world is like and what she's surrounded by and like so then later on when she's in Harvard it's super contrasted to how she's very much not babied there and is forced to kind of grow up and mature or not that she was resting on her laurels necessarily back in California, but it as obviously becomes a fish out of water narrative at that point. Even all the other people around Elle with the other law students, um, even with the person they're defending, the fitness instructor, like all these people we think we know ahead of time based off of the little bit tidbits we have they all I think the movie does a good job in trying to even someone like Paulette as well like I like the narrative around this is just like a personal thing is like I like seeing a woman like her get a guy like the UPS guy
Oh, I
and
love that.
and like I think what like Elle's biggest strength is how much she stands up for people, other people, helps them stand up for themselves. I think a big message about it is having confidence in yourself, having belief, and then being able to share that with other people so then they can cultivate that within themselves. I even think of the scene where she that helps her other law student like get a date with those two girls who are like, I mean, obviously no means no. They can just say, but they were just being very, very cruel and mean to that guy when he was being nice enough about asking them out. He wasn't being overly aggressive or anything like that. And she goes and, helps him out with that. And it's like, I'd like to think, we kind of see his reaction from that and how he already has like a more confidence in his interaction with them because of that. And also with Paulette, with getting her dog back and going for the
Yeah.
UPS guy and stuff. And so, to me, that's the thing that I found most affecting about the movie was how much
Broke stereotypes.
yeah, how much and like how much the demeanor that we usually kind of villainize actually ends up being what affects change for the better around everyone that's in her orbit.
Well, I mean, that was a huge message of the film that I feel like they were demonstrating all throughout, right?
Mm,
Again, just with who Elle is and how they've shown us she is somebody who really understands the rules of her world, and she uses that to her advantage, and she's at the top of her world. But then when she goes to Harvard and she learns this whole new world, she adapts. She's so
yeah.
intelligent. She's able to adapt. She's able to learn the new rules. She's able to play by those rules as well. Still, standing up for herself along the way, protecting herself, when she needed to with her professor, she stands her ground and, to her morals and all that stuff. And then, like you said, she's the type of person who uses these skills to help other people. That's her
Mm.
passion. That's why she's drawn to law. That's why I love that moment with the dogs so much, because that's the moment she realizes, oh, I can help people.
Yeah.
Like it's not at this point, like she's had the kindness and stuff, but she's realizing the power that she has
Yeah.
to actually, like you said, affect change and help people. And I feel like that was a really powerful moment for her. And, as you're watching her and you're starting to see like she's using her looks, she's using her charm, her wit, um, to succeed. And if you haven't figured it out by this point in the movie, there's that line with her and Emmett where she is kind of defeated and she's like,
Mm.
you know, people just, I have it in my notes. Let me see if I can find
Hmm.
it. Da, da, da. I have so many notes. It's hard to dig through them. But
There's a lot of
he
good,
he
you know.
says this thing to her. Let's see. Emmett, I'm trying
Is it
to
when they're in the
search for.
car and she's talking
Yeah,
about
they're
being
in the
blonde?
car.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's talking about being blonde, and he goes, "No." And he's talking about her being blonde too. He's like, "You have a power you don't realize, and I think you should use it." And what I
Mm.
wrote I'm gonna try to remember exactly what I wrote, but it
Hmm.
was something about how like oh, here we go. She says she's discriminated against as a blonde, and Emmett says, I said, Emmett says the quiet part out loud, but he's saying what she already knows and utilizes all the time. She's not the one who needs to hear it. We as the audience are the ones who need to hear
Yeah.
it, in case we haven't figured it out by now. He says, take that power that you have and channel it for the greater good. What I think it is for her is a validation. She already knows this, but now
Yeah.
she has somebody telling her this, that she's
Hmm.
on the right track. Um, and so, yeah, so I can't remember how this relates to what you were saying, but that is the message of the whole movie, I guess is what I'm trying to say, is that this thing that is often villainized, like you say, is actually something that has the capacity to be used for good. If, for those of you who relate to it in that way, like you actually have something powerful that can be used for good. And that's what she does. And I think it's cool. So,
Far
but
be it
back,
for me to elevate a man in all of this discussion, but how great is Emmett?
oh God, I love Emmett, and
Oh, he's
I have a
so
lot of
good.
opinions about that too. But I wanted to bring it back
Yeah.
to Warner for
Hmm.
a second on the
Yeah.
marrying a Jackie and not a Marilyn
Ugh.
comment. Um, what I loved about that is at the end, right? We learn at the end that Warner gets nothing.
Yep.
And it's like in that moment, Warner thinks he's entitled to all of these things because he's the
Yeah.
white wealthy man that he is with the access and privilege. And
Hmm.
oftentimes like men like that do get what they want. But in this
Yeah.
case, he wasn't good enough, right? And that's the great thing with him is Elle's worried about being good enough for him, but in the end, he's not even good enough for
For
any of these,
anything or anyone.
right?
Like,
So good. But yes, Emmett. So what I love about Emmett is they've created this ridiculous world. Right? Everything is a little bit over the top. Everything is
yep.
a little bit farcical. Like it's a little bit
It's all just
un
heightened.
right. It's heightened. And Emmett, he shows up and immediately his presence is like a rock. Like it's just like
He's very grounding. Yeah.
so grounding. That's the exact word I have for him. Like,
Yeah.
and it's like, Elle shows up to the school and everybody's staring at her, and she's
Yep.
such a spectacle for everybody, right? But when she sits next to Emmett, he turns around and she's just a person,
Yeah, his
and
immediate reaction is to help her.
it's like a record scratch. It's like all of a sudden this world, you could almost see it as like this is Elle's world, like an Elle's perception of the world too, right?
Mm.
Of what people expect and how they see her. And then when Emmett shows up, it's like it all fizzles out and suddenly it's clear and oh, like I'm a person and I'm smart and I can do things and I have purpose and I can affect change. And he just supports all of those things.
Yeah.
What I love about Emmett is that he's not loud, like even as the
Mhm.
character. Like I don't mean like verbally loud or
I,
loud.
I made a note and I just said he equals quiet power.
Yeah, and like he's not a huge part of the storyline. She's not obsessed with him. They don't have any romantic moments, any like goo goo eyes at each other, anything like that. It's really just this amazing quiet support. He just believes in her.
Yep.
Um, and people like that in general, whenever you see people who just appreciate another human for what they're capable of, because
Yep.
that's so rare just in general. People are either obsessed with themselves or they don't like seeing other people succeed or they don't care about other people. And this clearly he is a good human, right?
Yeah.
Not only does he see her for who she is, but he wants to see her succeed and he wants to
Hmm.
see her be the best that she can be, not because he's attracted to her, not because he wants her, not because he feels like he deserves her or anything like that, just because she's another human. And I love that. Like it's so, so powerful. They did that really, really well.
I think the movie does kind of telegraph that they're like into each other. I mean, obviously they don't like start a
Not
relationship, but
strong.
I think it's very obvious that they're pointing them towards, that he's like a love interest for her. That's not to like say he doesn't have his own stuff going on or whatever, but
But not in
I
any of the like classic ways, especially at the
that's
time.
true. It's not like bonking your head over you. Bleh. It's not like hitting you over the head with like rom-commy kind of stuff. It is very much like this. this kind of more subtle thing that's maybe happening in the background. You just see that she's fostering this really lovely relationship with him. And I think obviously men and women should just be able to have that without it turning romantic and or sexual. Um, so it's nice to see that when it can just be like a friendship thing and like their relationship, if they didn't get together at the end, it would have still made sense and everything how they treat each other. It's just like, for movie world, usually that kind of just like means they're kind of sort of heading towards being a couple, but I really um I feel like Emmett, because like obviously for the whole movie we see people overly judging Elle, being really annoyed by how she presents herself and how she walks into a room and like they just think she's just kind of this like noisy, obnoxious kind of person or whatever. And I think Emmett kind of personifies the sentiment of like um you won't be too much for the right person because I think for a lot of people throughout Elle's life she's been quote unquote too much. And but he's like, "No, I see the value in you and I would love to be a part of supporting that and elevating that." Like he doesn't get in her way, but he also kind of helps create opportunities for her to shine, especially like at the end there when he goes against. I mean, this is my favorite bit about Emmett's story is at the end when she unfortunately is hit on by her professor and she tells him and he immediately believes her.
Yeah.
Like he has no questions. He doesn't try to get more context. She's just like, this fucking sucks. This is bad. I'm so upset this happened to someone that I care about. This is not okay. I'm gonna like disassociate from him right away. And he obviously chooses to help her and help her case out and goes against him in the court of law of saying like, I'm gonna basically sponsor her as she's making her case as the professor gets fired from it. And I love that it's just kind of like a slap in that professor's face of like, oh, I definitely thought this guy was gonna like be on my side.
I
And
know. I love
then
that.
it's so fantastic. Everyone obviously believes her right away, which is amazing. But since it's someone that is going to be her future partner, it's it's like green flags all the way. The fact that he was
I
just
mean, he's a
immediately,
walking green flag. That he just is. He's like the guy. I yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting. I just keep thinking about how I did not take them as driving a romance between them that
Hmm.
strongly. I didn't read that way to me. Maybe that's just my own interpretation. And then when they threw in that card at the end where they're like, "Oh, and he's planning on proposing tonight," it felt right. Like it
Yeah.
felt so I'm not a huge like advocate for the institution of marriage as a whole. But and a lot of that is just based around how it's structured and how it still
Yep.
is built in a way that harms women, traps them, can take opportunity away from them. Obviously, context matters, support systems matter, but in general, right? But Emmett is that person that if you were planning on getting married, he's the kind of guy you'd want to marry. I think if
Yeah.
marriage is something you're interested in, marriage really truly needs to be a partnership, right? Of
Mhm.
support for both of your dreams and aspirations and not just the baby making woman, giving up
Yeah.
her dreams for the children and that kind of stuff, which happens just so much more often than people realize. Still, to this day. But
Emmett's
yeah,
down for her ambition.
yeah, and it's just like I could see them never having kids too and just being
Yeah.
like badass lawyers together for the rest of their lives. And I'm all for it. Like I'm just like, I love this storyline for her.
He's never
And
threatened by her ambition,
right.
her talent, her guts, like any of that.
No, he loves all those things
Yeah,
about her.
he's very drawn to it, if anything, and again, just wants to
And
kind of be along for the
and
ride.
and okay, this is another really important thing, but he brings the same thing to the table.
Yeah,
Like I feel like that's just as important. Like Emmett
yeah.
is a self-actualized human being as
Yeah, he's
well,
not
who's also
submissive to her. It's not like he's
right.
quote unquote lesser or unequal in their partnership.
They
It's
are
just not
very
a movie about
equal.
him, but
And I
yeah.
think that I don't know how to explain it. Romance is so often portrayed in so many different unhealthy ways, right?
Mm.
Um, Often with the love bombing or
Grand
again, like
gestures.
what?
Grand gestures.
Yeah, grand gestures and the swooning and the attraction, it's heavily ba that I think that's what I'm picking up on with the two of them and how they
Yeah.
portrayed them. There was
Hmm.
no like major attraction in
Yeah.
terms of like I want to have sex with you. It
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
he's
It was just
attracted.
a very quietly built up connection that
Yes, that
they didn't
connection.
overtly like throw it in your face. They just showed these two people who over a course of time realized that they gelled and they worked well together and they helped each other out and that they had the same kind of principles and values in the way that they wanted to carry themselves in the world and all this stuff. And it is I mean, I think your point is a very good one. That is a much more kind of mature and almost even truer to life depiction of
Truer to
like
life. Yeah.
how people end up together. It's a
Or how people
gradual
should
thing.
end up together. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Yeah, instead of looking for that crazy feeling or
Yeah. That's
yeah,
the stuff that'll sustain their relationship. Like you walk away from that believing that they could go the distance because it's built upon so much more than just like of infatuation that people kind of get in the honeymoon stages of
yeah.
meeting someone, you know? So
And
it is
and
a very
and
cool.
and my point is that is encouraged on throughout media, when it comes to
Yeah.
romance.
Yep.
Like those kinds of unhealthy behaviors and perceptions is normally what you see. So it's so refreshing to see this relationship. And I do remember even when I first saw this movie, I loved Emmett. Like I loved him
Yep.
so
Yep.
much. Like, um, I mean, clearly written by women, right? So that makes
Yeah.
sense. It makes
Like this is
sense.
how we want you all to treat us, please. Like,
Oh my goodness. Okay, so again, bringing it back to that Owen moment one more time. I'm like looking through
no,
my notes
go.
again
Yeah.
because I this makes me laugh, but like the moment, okay, just to drive home how much I don't relate to Elle. She's walking and she won't get in the car, and he's like begging her to get in the car, and then he's like, "You're gonna ruin your shoes."
Psh,
And
bitch, I'll take them off.
she makes seriously, I was like, I made my note. I was like, stubborn me is screaming. I would have taken them off in that moment and walked barefoot. Are you kidding
Yep.
me? Like, it's just like I would not have gotten in that car. What are you doing? Ah, my
Um,
goodness.
so through the course of discussing Emmett, I briefly mentioned the scene in the moment where her Professor Callahan comes on to her, sexually harasses her. They're just set the scene in case somebody's listening that hasn't seen the film. They're just sitting in like a office or his office or something. He puts his like hand on her thigh and insinuates that like to get ahead with him and in the field of being a lawyer, he kind of insinuates that they should hook up and that he straight up just says that he's attracted to her and all that stuff. I was watching a video about the character. It was a video on YouTube by Cinema Therapy, which is one of my favorite channels. Big shout out to them. They don't need it. They're huge, but whatever. Um, and they were talking about this and like just for context, it's just two men talking about her, but take it or leave that point. And one of them was kind of mentioned that felt very kind of out of character. It felt very out of left field, that they were really like put off by that and didn't feel like the story needed that, and that it was a little like ham-fisted in terms of like having to keep throwing wrenches into Elle's story and everything. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on what you make of that scene, whether you think it hurt or helped the film, or whether you're kind of just indifferent to its inclusion.
Okay. First of all, it's very hard for me to like take Victor Garber as a creep because he is such an endearing person normally. And I mean, I don't know him as a human, but
Right.
the characters he normally plays are usually very endearing. So
Yeah.
it was a little hard. He acted out the scene perfectly. I think it's just,
Yeah. I
when you
was like, he did a good
see
job of being creep.
he did a good job, but when you've seen someone play different roles so often, it's kind of
Mhm.
hard, to see them differently. But he did a good job. Okay, so I don't think it was unnecessary. I don't think
Okay.
the word ham-fisted, I'm wondering like
I don't know if that's the word they used or that's just what I'm saying to say that I think a point that they made a lot throughout their critique of the film, and they were like fans of the film, they were just
Hmm.
saying that a lot of it was very spoon-fed or very was obvious, was very kind of like surface level discussion of these things. And I think that they were just kind of saying like, oh, they put this in here to be like, ooh, bad guy, scary guy. And I think they also just felt, again, that I guess they felt like the movie at that point didn't really succeed in building that turn of events into the film. So it really just seemed like they threw that in there just for like shock and awe a little bit.
Okay. I had one thought that I forgot, but I have another thought now. I think that's interesting,
Yeah.
since, you know, let's step into the world of women for a second
Yeah.
and understand that this is very realistic, actually.
Hmm.
Um, so I have a big paragraph about this. Let me just try to skim through it. So Elle has embraced her intelligence as an and is pursuing something she started to really believe in for
Hmm.
herself. And I believe that Callahan genuinely thinks she's smart and genuinely believes in her. I took all of that as true,
Hmm.
up to this point. But, and here's the big but for women in real life, he's also attracted to her.
Hmm.
And in the patriarchal world, especially for white men, who are capable of both thinking that women are intelligent, but are also capable of being attracted to them and attracted to them in a way where they feel entitled.
Hmm.
He's also in a position of power
Yeah.
and he's a predator. So his instinct is to use his power as to his advantage, right? And oftentimes as women, we work ourselves up to a point with our intelligence, and again, I think oftentimes, sometimes the men around us, are working with that as well and do honestly believe that. But then when they're attracted and feel like they need to act on their impulses,
Hmm.
they feel like they can make these moves in those moments. And because he's in a position of power, he thinks he's going to be able to get what he wants from her, because she wants to complete, to move forward again.
Hmm.
Um, and I also think so. Second part of my paragraph here. Being smart doesn't protect you when it comes to being a
Yeah.
woman in
Yeah.
patriarchy. This moment in the plot also gives Elle an opportunity to discover something. She's always used her looks to her advantage because that's what she learned. And then she discovered that she could be and do more, with her intelligence. And that now, in this moment, is being cast into doubt by Callahan's behavior.
Hmm.
Right? This is where she wants to give up.
Yeah.
She's like, I don't know if I can lean on my intelligence. I guess I have to go back to using my looks. That's what she knows, and that's where she feels safer. And then you have the moment in the nail salon where the professor ends up being there, and it's amazing. I have
The
women
female
supporting women.
professor, just
Yeah,
to
yeah,
clarify.
in all caps, women supporting women. Like, oh, it makes me so happy. And it just gives her that little boost to change her perspective and be like, fuck that dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he
I
does
mean,
not change how smart you are and what
mhm.
you want. And it doesn't negate you being able to go after what you want. Like, screw it. Keep doing what you're doing, girl. And so I disagree respectfully with
Yeah.
that
I mean,
usage.
I think like the fact that that is what makes her almost want to quit and stop, I think it's very true to life as well,
Yep.
in that a lot of women leave their fields of work because of harassment or because of
Yep.
exclusion.
It's so
Um,
real.
I've seen that story time and again where it's like I just had to pivot to something else completely or work for myself or something because what I was dealing with in the workplace that was so male dominated was like so hostile to me and made them feel unsafe or they just weren't being utilized or taken seriously. I also would argue with their critique that it fell out of left field. I think you could make the argument or the case that there were very, very subtle signs. I think I kept coming back to contrasting how he treats Vivian to how he treats Elle when they're all working on this case and um, Vivian's another law student. She was engaged to Warner. That's something we can discuss as well because I like her whole arc with Ellis as well.
Yes,
But
me too.
just to clarify kind of who Vivian is for people if they need it. So she's another law student. Um, and when she is dealing with the Professor Callahan, the predator, he's very dismissive of her. He treats her like a secretary. He's always telling her to like telling her to go get something for him. I want coffee. I want this with my meal, whatever. And we can see that it is annoying to her. And she's clearly feeling like she's being disrespected and not seen as a asset to this legal team and all this stuff. And meanwhile, Elle's kind of becoming the star player a lot of the times. I mean, obviously she's still meeting up against adversity, but she obviously gets more attention from Callahan, and like we find out why later. And I think if you kind of pick up on the moments where he treats Vivian that way, you can see that this is a man who bases his treatment of women about how fuckable they are to him.
Right.
Like he's like, "Oh, if I'm into you and I want to sleep with you, I'll invest in you. If you're someone that I'm not into and not attracted to, you don't matter to me and you're just kind of noise in the room." And so I don't necessarily think that it comes out of left field when that happens. The only thing I will say that maybe is on their side a little bit is that I do get annoyed with like sexual assault harassment, feeling like it always has to be a part of a woman's story. I feel like it gets shoehorned into a lot of things just to cause drama for that to be the kind of main turning point for a female character, and that gets really grating and old to me. It's really refreshing to me. I mean, it depends upon the story. Obviously, this is comedy, it's more lighthearted. So it's not like all encompassing and about that. But sometimes when you have dramas and stuff, it is annoying that like the woman's story has to center around her being violated in that way because it's just like, yeah, we deal with this every day and like so many, and it's like, that's not to say it's not important to tell those stories. It absolutely is, and people should keep doing so. But just kind of with more hindsight watching this film now, I'm just like, man, it has to just pop up everywhere, doesn't it? But that's not really a critique on the film, and especially because this happened 25 years ago.
Yeah.
I I do think, and like also to their critique of it, a lot of the movie being kind of obvious or spoon feeding. I think it's similar to Barbie in that regard, where to get the point across to as many people as possible, you kind of have to appeal to the lowest common denominator sometimes and make it very obvious, very telegraphed, very in your face, so it can hopefully penetrate the people it's kind of maybe supposed to penetrate through more or who haven't received that message as much yet. And so I
So
don't
many thoughts
fault
on
it.
that.
I don't fault it for taking that tactic. I don't fault it for including that. It's more, I don't know if that's just a personal preference for me. I think it's obviously a very complicated topic. And I'm not the expert on it or anything. So it's like, on one hand, I can see it's kind of annoying to have in there, but on the other hand, I don't think that the film is worse off for it at all.
No, I mean, so many things. First of all, just because a lot of movies have that in it doesn't mean this one shouldn't,
Right.
is one big thing. Two, it doesn't revolve around it. That's not what the whole
Yep.
story's about. It is a side note in her
Yep.
life.
Hmm.
It yeah, it played a part in like some decision making she had, but I think it's very realistic. I don't think
Hmm.
it's shoehorned or
Yep.
um yeah, I definitely disagree. And then okay, the spoon feeding thing. I really I take such issue with this as a criticism as a whole. Like there is spoon feeding and it's, not very good storytelling and like couldn't you have been more subtle or done it smarter or whatever? And then there's like that's the point. The spoon feeding is the point. Like it's just like I don't really understand what people want from movies. Sometimes I hear this complaint a lot, so that's why
Mm.
I kind of react to it a little bit because there are movies I watch that people will be like, well, it's so obvious, it's so spoon-fed, and I'm like, that doesn't change how good it is or how powerful the
Mm.
message is. And honestly, I think sometimes it is the point, like you're saying, like you when you're reaching certain audiences or let's just say certain topics, okay?
Hmm.
The topic of feminism needs to be spoon-fed because guess what? We've been shouting it and no one hears us.
Mm.
So, it needs to be in your face. I don't want to use the word spoon-fed either anymore
Yeah.
because I think that's more negative, more like, oh, well, they didn't make the effort. They didn't make the effort to
Yeah,
like
it's
tell
kind
the
of
story.
infantilizing, isn't it?
It really is. It's very frustrating. And I'm like, you know what? Sometimes stories need to be told in a way where it is in your face. And that is the point. The point is, look at this. Look at this issue. Look at how bad this is. Look at what she has to deal with. You know, oh, you think she's blonde, so she's a villain? No, actually, she's very powerful, and look at what she's able to accomplish. And look at how much she cares about people, and look at what she can do with that. Because you clearly aren't getting that message from all the subtle ways we try to tell you. You know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I take issue with it. I sometimes, you know what? You got to understand that storytelling it comes in many different forms, and just because it's not subtle
Yeah.
and it doesn't like I feel like people who want like the subtle they get off feeling smarter. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
They feel so clever for figuring it out. Well, guess what? You can be clever from just understanding the point when it's right in your face too. Like
I
it
like
because
to call myself a reformed pretentious wanker. Because and I still can fall into this sometimes, but I definitely used to kind of have a chip on my shoulder about yeah, just that of being like, well, this movie isn't really being that smart or clever, blah. Like I don't know, you know. Um, but I've done some work on myself and I don't think I'm like that as much anymore. And it's also like you got to meet people where they're at to a certain extent. It's like I gotta understand that I'm a little bit of the freaking weirdo for how much I watch movies and TV shows and obsess over them. And so I'm starting from a different point that somebody else is. And like I think if the way a movie presents something where someone can gain a little bit of more media literacy or can just like watch Legally Blonde and be like, wow, women really go through some shit. And it's like, well, that's great. I think it achieved hopefully what it was trying to achieve. If it kind of broke through to someone like that,
yeah.
then like that's worth a movie being maybe a little more heavy-handed with its message or whatever.
It's
And
not it's not
there's
even
plenty
just
of movies
that.
out there that are deep and layered that you can still engage with. It doesn't, they're not mutually exclusive. Like it's good to have movies that are trying to be super clever and deep and substantial. Not that this movie doesn't have substance to it, it absolutely does. But then you know, they're different ways to get your message across, and like that's something to be celebrated because that adds a diversity into the storytelling, and I think it should be celebrated for anyone attempting to do it however they see fit or capable of.
Well, okay. I I also want to ask, like, how much do you want from a movie? Because this
Yeah,
movie, being made in the time that it was very clever for its subversiveness,
yeah,
you know, which I think can read as heavy-handed, but it was flipping stereotypes on their heads.
hmm
So how else is it going to read? Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm just
yeah.
like, what you want it to both be subversive and subtle? Like I don't know. I just am like, yeah, how much do you want from a film? Like, let this film be what it is, which is flipping stereotypes on its head. I don't even read it as heavy-handed because at the
Yeah,
time, a lot of what they were doing was new. Like it was very I was reading how the other movies being made at the time were like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings, like all these male-driven narratives, right? And this was a movie with a female heroine. Not only that, but a blonde, you know, stereotypical, like what you would quote unquote call a bimbo, you know, as the heroine. Like that was never done,
it's very
you know?
refreshing. I mean, there's a reason it was as popular as it's become, right? Like it obviously was tapping into, I mean, constantly the female market is underestimated, but like we have a lot of like if you make stories that it doesn't have to like be all about women, but if you treat the female characters with respect and with depth and dimension, like we will come out for it. And it tapped into that kind of unforeseen, probably market at the time of going, oh, well, shit, women will come to the movies. Look at that. Like, oh, who would have thought? And it's like, yeah, because this movie was like really refreshing and relatable and felt like it actually like cared about the female characters.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Oh.
I think a lot of the movie too is just asking like why not for people achieving certain things in their life, whether it's the blonde girl you think is dumb or the socially awkward dweeb, or for Paulette and how her life ends up dating that guy. It's like we look at these people and think, because it's like just like that interaction that I alluded to earlier where the guy was asking out the girl, she was like, girls like me don't go out with guys like you. And I'm just like, well, why the fuck not? And I think that that's
Yeah.
why I think that's kind of a prompt that this movie brings up. Like, why couldn't someone like Elle become an amazing lawyer? Why couldn't someone like that law student go out with those types of girls? Why couldn't Paulette get her life back, get her dog back, and get a super hot guy? Like, and it's really life affirming in that way of like trying to maybe flip the narrative in people's own minds of like, I've been told I can't do this for so long, but why not? Like really, what's stopping me from like going for that? And I think Elle's confidence is really contagious in like the best way.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's very true. Yeah, I mean, does her con again, one of my big criticisms with the film, and it's not like it's not the worst thing ever. You have to tell stories within the context that they're told in. So I understand that. But like, someone like Elle is as confident as she is because of the privilege that she comes from. I
Yeah.
mean, if you're going to
Yep.
come from a very wealthy white family, you are taught that you are a very important person,
I
from a
mean,
young
she
age.
kind of knows it too because when Warner's telling her she doesn't have the right kind of pedigree to marry, she's like, "I come from Bel Air." Like, what are you talking about?
I know. I know. It's
It's
such an
gross,
interesting
but it's
scene.
also
Yeah.
like she is aware that she comes from a good, quote unquote, good background, of like a wealthy elite kind of
Yeah.
position. And she's using it in a maybe gross way in that moment, but I don't think that she's completely unaware of her station in life. And like you're right, if this movie had been told from a different kind of perspective of someone who's coming from poverty, who's a person of color, who's queer or whatever, it would be very
It would be a different
different.
story.
Yeah, it would
And
just be different.
that's where I like, that's where I have to lay the criticism down and be like, well,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
not that story. This is
yeah.
Elle's story. And that's where we have to accept stories again within their context. Like
Hmm.
we can't tell Elle's story from somebody else's perspective. This is Elle's story and it has its own impact. We as humans all live our own lives, all have our own experiences, all have our own sort of testimony of the things that we go through, and it gives us something to offer, right? And
Yeah,
even though her story kind of boxes out certain people, there's still elements of it that all of us can relate to and draw from and be inspired by, right? And
yeah.
that's the
Because again, that why not could be applied to so many people outside of Elle's kind of lived
right,
experience. So
right,
even just
exactly.
kind of uh, offering that up as a thought experiment is, there's a lot of value in that. I picked out a quote from like a paper I was reading on this film that I thought it just stood out to me and I thought kind of was a good point about the character. And the quote says, it challenges viewers to consider, this is about the movie, it challenges viewers to consider where real empowerment comes from. Elle's flippancy about elite institutions invites us to reevaluate whether true power derives from class status or from local sites of mutual encouragement.
You think the movie's actually presenting that challenge?
I think you could make the case for it. I mean, it's not like this is a movie about her purposefully taking on this super elite institution and trying to like deconstruct it and like it's not a movie about Harvard and about what that stands for. And like obviously she comes from a higher class status, but also think like the local sites of mutual encouragement is a fair enough point about how a lot of the film does demonstrate the importance of having support systems and like how she didn't achieve what she did on her own. She had her friends back in California helping her pass the test. Like none of her friends tried to talk her down from getting into Harvard and all this stuff. I mean, I get that it was off the back of chasing after a boy, but like, and obviously you had Emmett and then eventually Vivian as well was, there and they're trying to support each other and everything. The female professor comes, obviously Jennifer Coolidge's character. I think a lot of it is about mostly girlhood, but also what people can achieve if they have people around them that believe in them and also accept them for who they are. So I don't think the
Yes.
point is, I don't think that's like everything the movie is about, but I did think it was an interesting perspective that this person got from the movie. And I do think there's elements of validity to it.
Okay. So I definitely like have notes about that too, just the community aspect, the support system aspect.
Yeah.
Elle didn't accomplish all of these things on her own. And I think that's just a really beautiful
Yeah.
way to demonstrate life. Like,
Hmm.
um, okay, I'm relating it to something else in the film now. I'm like, no, no, that's separate. That's separate. But like, I can see why it relates, but it's separate. Um, but the original thing you read introduced like class as well. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember
Yeah.
how, and I disagree with that. I don't think the movie takes
It's
any
saying
kind of stance
it's
on
yeah.
class,
It just
really.
says it invites us to reevaluate whether true power derives from class status or from local sites of mutual encouragement. I'd say
See,
it's both.
yeah, and I would disagree that the movie like in any way connects the two or compares them,
Mm,
or does that make sense? I think the story is set within a certain class. Um
yeah.
and doesn't really challenge it or question it or say that it does or doesn't play a role. Clearly, it is why she's able to do a lot of the things that she does. I mean, it's like,
Mm.
how does she have access to be able to just choose to go to Harvard?
She
Like,
had
she
a
didn't,
fucking Coppola record her admissions video.
I know, but okay, how does she do that?
Right. That's
Money,
what I'm
right?
saying. Like
Wealth, like it's a different world, and they're not challenging that. They're not
yep.
saying, "Oh, look at her privilege." But again, like, how much do you want from a movie? This movie wasn't about that. This movie
Yeah.
was about, you know, women. So
People
it
have examine the class structure of it though, because it's not a video I watched since it wasn't expressly about gender, but there was a video when I was looking up analyses for it that did discuss like the class, and it seemed to pop up here and there. So it seemed like that's something people picked up on, but I think that's more of a kind of modern sensibility than what the movie itself is. I think we're just so much more attuned to like the wealth gap these days.
yeah. Yeah,
That we're gonna
no.
like pick up on that more than like I agree with you that I don't think the movie is all that bothered with looking at
Yeah,
that at all. I think it's much more interested in the gender structures than wealth,
that's what I
which
would say.
they tie into each other in ways, but like yeah, I think I would think that's just people being more informed now about that stuff than maybe they were when this movie came out. Because maybe if it was
Yeah.
made now, there would be a class element to how the
Yeah.
story is told. I don't know, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, yeah. Looking at it within its time, and
Yeah.
at the time, I mean, it's still today. There's still elite worship within our culture that's so, so
Yeah.
strong, right? And so, I mean, how many movies are set in wealthy environments?
Yeah.
It's not often. I don't know. So, I just don't think the movie was ch making that challenge, but I
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
think the movie definitely embraced community
Yeah.
support. I think that that was a huge part of it. Okay, so the random association I made with it was my brain went, you can't achieve big things alone.
Hmm.
You can't have the ass that society expects you to have as a woman on your own because
It's true.
that moment she has with Brooke at the prison when Brooke is admitting
Yep.
that she had liposuction and she's like, "You think I can have an ass like this on my own?" And I was like, "Yeah."
I was like, oh, the falsehood of the fitness world is, which
I
is like a
know.
big bugaboo for me. So,
But it's just funny how my brain made that. That's the leap my brain made. It was like,
it's
can't do
true.
any of these things alone, okay? I always think of this it's like a random social media video I saw one time where this girl was like talking about how this guy saw her on the street and had to compliment her and be like, it's just so good to see a woman like embracing her natural beauty. And the girl on the video was like, it's so stupid. This jawline cost me $20,000. I was just
Well, it's
like,
also like the whole concept of like men like women that don't wear makeup. I'm like the women that you're seeing are still wearing makeup. It's just much more naturalized. Like
it's just all ridiculous. The expectations being put on us. And it was a great line in the
you
movie
can't
where
win.
no, you can't win. You can't win. And I mean the poor woman's like, I'm a fraud. It's like, are you or are you a
Just a
victim
victim.
of,
Yep.
yeah, of this patriarchy that we are all under? But yeah.
And how she's willing to go to prison to keep that
I know.
secret
She's
is
willing to
like,
go to prison instead of being exposed.
oh my God.
Oh God.
It's so telling. That's a whole just the body image thing is a
I
whole
well, what's funny, and
other.
in my notes, I was like, just coming off I just finished the Biggest Loser documentary. So I
Oh
was
yeah,
like,
I
I
watched that too.
literally just finished that and
Ugh,
I'm watching this.
fucking sucks, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to circle back around and talk about like the Vivian of it all.
Yes.
I think the way that they handled that was just chef's kiss. Um,
I don't know if I'd
so
say chef's kiss
no, you don't like it?
just because I am a brunette and watching a movie like this and being villainized that way was offensive to me,
All you
which is
brunettes are frigid bitches. No. Hey, she becomes
no,
much less of one.
but I mean, in all honesty, like when you do see a heroine at this point in life, when I first watched this movie, they were always beautiful blonde women, and so it's a little tiring to
Girl,
be like the back character, the evil character. Like, come on. Powerpuff
I'm not
Girls,
engaging
Sailor
in
Moon, like all these things. I'm like, come on, really?
I'm not going to engage in a form of one-upsmanship because it sucks across the board to only be whittled down to your hair color red. As a redhead, how do you think I feel?
Oh yeah. I'll give it to you. I'll give
Very
it to you. I totally get
complicated.
it. It's ridiculous.
Culture's relationship with redheads is very complicated and just freaking weird. But
It is
as,
weird. I will
as
tell you, as somebody who isn't a redhead, I do not understand. I
I don't
don't get
either.
it. I don't get it. I don't understand. It's so weird.
Um
But I do overall, hair color aside, do love that storyline. I mean, it really demonstrates how patriarchy pits us women against each other,
yeah.
right? And it's very
And how powerful it
intentional.
is to deny that because
I
like
know.
so the arc for Vivian is she's a law student, she starts out we're introduced to her as she's like right out the gate she's just seen as this uppity cold like mean girl type. We find out she's engaged to Warner. Over the course of the film, her and Elle get closer as they get to know each other more, get to see each other in action in the law world and stuff. There's some ups and downs, of course, that causes some drama and friction, but in the end, they end up really good friends and, realizing that Warner was the problem. It was not either of them. And like you said, it eschews the pitting women against each other and actually says, what if they realize that they're not the problem? And that they actually get along and have a lot of like common interests, and it's
Yeah.
really great that it ends on the point of them becoming friends.
Yeah. No, I thought that was wonderful.
And I wish there was more narratives of that. I think we're better with that now because I hope at least that when we see like women pitted against each other, especially in the context of like a male love interest, we see it as a little hackneyed now. That's my hope. Is like, this really, but um, I think similar to how they handle like the Ellen Emmett thing, it's a more thing kind of that's a little more in the background, or it's not like a super pronounced thing necessarily, but it is one of those things that just like it's a gradual thing they kind of work on throughout the film to where when it ends and they're kind of telling you the backgrounds of these characters they graduate. I think all of that feels very earned at the end and it
Yeah,
all feels very I mean it is very much like a happy ending thing, but I think the work that they did leading up to that really makes it pay off. And so I'm
I
always just
agree.
happy when, women and girls can come together like that.
Oh yeah. No, I absolutely agree. I don't really have anything to add because yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that covers it.
Um,
Um,
is there like a few more points you wanted to get to, or do you
I
think
want
that
to ask your opinion and
okay.
perspective of the most iconic part of this movie.
Hmm.
Three words. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I'm
The
thinking of
bend
forward.
and
Oh
snap.
yes. I was like, I literally just had to count on my fingers. I was like, I think it's forwards. I'm thinking of
Counting on
yeah.
your fingers? What was it? What was it for you?
I thought you meant the what like it's hard part.
Oh, I mean, that's a great line
Since
too.
people quote that a lot.
They
Um,
do, but I definitely hear bend and snap way more.
so I can see the bend and snap scene, I think, is one of those scenes where it's like in 2025, I feel like I'm expected to criticize, but I don't really hate it. Um, it's like, yes, it kind of plays into sexualizing yourself to get people's attention, but kind of it speaks to kind of what you were saying about Elle earlier, where knowing how to use your body to get things is a
Yep.
skill, whether it's for good or bad. Um, so it's like it's
I
centering
mean,
around.
not she came at it with statistics.
It's
I
true.
That was very intentional. I don't think that was a mistake. I think that was like this girl knows. This has a what was it, 93%
She comes
of
correct, okay? When she's coming at
yeah,
things, she's
she's like I've done the math on this. I've done the
yeah.
studies.
I
93% of the time you're going to get that man's attention. This is how this girl thinks, you know? She's very smart.
she's very strategic, yes.
Yes,
I
strategic. That's another way to put it. Yeah.
it's like I'm not thrilled that it's kind of like centering male attention. Not that they even explicitly state that. I mean, you can use it on whoever you want. Um, but I think it works fine enough for me because ultimately I think the kind of feeling it's trying to conjure is not like winning back this guy or getting this guy to notice you. It becomes, since everyone in the salon joins in, it becomes much more about this like communal moment of support, and like that is one of the very few scenes that feels slightly more inclusive. You have people of like different ages,
Yep,
different
that's the scene
sizes,
I was thinking of.
different
Yep.
sexual orientations,
Different
um,
races.
races,
The
and it's
one
just
point
like
in the movie where they include different races, just so
I
you
think
know.
it's I think I don't mind that because what I think it achieves is more about showing everyone that you're all sexy, you're all hot, you're all capable of putting yourself out there how you want. I mean, he doesn't need to be sexual, or it can be, but it's just like, again, I think it was just another example of Elle trying to instill confidence and capability in other people that they might have told themselves or been told that they don't have. And it's kind of like it'd be nice if someone walking out of that salon that day had their held their head a little higher and was like, you know
Yeah.
what? I do got a nice booty. I need to show it off more, kind of,
Yeah. Again, it's a little ridiculous,
Oh yeah.
a whole lot of farcical, but it's
Yeah.
like you said, the instilling confidence. And what I wrote down was this is getting to feel like a mating ritual. Which which when you look at
True.
it like that, like, is that really that bad? Like us as humans want to draw each other in, right? Like, and if that's how you do it, that's
Yeah.
how you do it. Like, we gotta reproduce somehow,
It's
right?
not like she was
So,
forcing people to go out on the street and like shake their ass for strangers and stuff. But she was like, "Hey, this is something that I have found handy that have gotten me where I wanted in life. I'm gonna pass it along to you. Maybe it'll make you feel a little better, or maybe make you feel a little more confident. Maybe it'll help you get a date if that's what you want to do." There's nothing that's like, you know, gross about it necessarily with how they
right.
approached it. I just think, again,
I
it's
think
one of those things like if it was made now, I don't know if that would be included.
right. And exactly. I do think that like it was of its time, although I will say that even back then I thought it was crazy. I was like,
Ridiculous.
what
I mean,
on
it
earth?
is there for comedic element more than
I
anything
know.
else.
Again,
So,
I think the ridiculousness is supposed to keep it lighthearted and funny so it doesn't become this hyper over sexualized thing. Like it's a
yeah.
little silly, you know, but I think another point of it is, especially within the context of why she's suggesting this, is that when you're doing this little mating ritual dance with somebody, you kind of do got to show them that like you want their attention. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
because she was shying away from him, and it's like
Hmm.
when you are kind of attracted to somebody, you can't just expect that they're gonna
You got to make it known.
yeah, you
Yeah.
kind of gotta
Shoot your
put the
shot.
signal out there, you know, like, hey, yeah, I would like you to notice me, please. You know, like, I do like that. You know, I don't want to advocate for specifically male attention here, but another human that you're attracted to, you do kind
Yeah.
of want to vie for their attention a little bit, you know, and it's like you got to put yourself out there. So,
Again, it's
yeah,
just a confidence thing of like, maybe
yeah,
she probably just was like, maybe this will give someone the confidence to go out there and go after something that they want or pursue someone that they're interested in, obviously in a respectful way. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, I think I could benefit from a little of the bend and snap confidence. So,
yeah,
I don't think it obviously was not. I think I know that. intention is often only half of the equation, but this was not, it was a scene done in good faith ultimately. So I'm gonna
I
take it
agree.
at face value that way.
And now it's so iconic. I mean, who
Hey, it
doesn't
works
know
every
what
time, like they
bend and
say.
snap means? Yeah.
I haven't tried it. I need to do that.
Oh, I totally forgot. I mean, we've been talking. We kind of just like introduced her and her nail tech friend, but I when she showed up, I wrote in big capitals, Jennifer
Oh,
Coolidge.
we love Jennifer Coolidge. I'm
Gotta
taking the
love her.
dog, dumbass.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my, I like yelled that line right before I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, we
Gosh, I
we
love
we
her.
always love Jennifer Coolidge. She's great in everything that she does. She always adds such a special quality to whatever project she's working on.
Yeah.
So, I think a good note to end on would be asking you if you feel like the characterization of Elle taught you anything about how you carry yourself in the world as a woman now. Now or when you watched it or just over the course of the film being in your life.
When I first watched it, no. Um, but again, I just wasn't in a place where I could pick up on the
Right.
su more subtle things. I
Hmm.
just saw her as somebody who embodied so much of existing in the world that I did not relate to, didn't understand,
Yeah.
didn't care to replicate, Now, I mean, heck yeah. She, I love her. I love her care for
Yeah.
others. I love her ability to, I mean, she's on it. So often as women, when we find ourselves in bad situations or, somebody's being an ass or whatever, we kind of freeze up. We don't always know what to do or say
Mm.
in the moment.
Hmm.
And it's like afterwards, when you're going over it in your head, like, I should have said that. I should have done that.
Yeah.
Elle says it. She has the words. She knows what she's gonna do. I mean, like, Callahan's coming on to her. She pushes him off. She knows what's
Hmm.
happening. It's not like oh, what do I do? Like, I want to get to this place. Like, how do I handle this? And then afterwards, you're like, or you convince yourself like, well, he's not really doing this, or he's not really. And then afterwards, you're like, no, he was totally trying to make a move on me, and that's not
Yep.
okay. No, she's calling it as it is, right in the moment. And I think that that's incredible. I think she's an amazing character. Um,
She's
and
so
yeah,
self-assured. She's so self-assured.
yes.
And that is a quality that can be hard to come by. I think a lot of people, I think she just came right out of the gate with it. She was born with it. I mean, we don't get a lot about her childhood and stuff, but obviously that can come from privilege as well. But I think for a lot of people, it takes work to kind of have that self-assurance.
Yeah,
And so again, it
absolutely.
kind of comes back to the confidence of it all in that you got to think, what would Elle Woods do, you know?
That's a good that's a really good way to put it. Yeah, what would Elle Woods do?
I
Yeah.
also want to just be on the record as that I support semesters now being called ovesters.
Oh, I loved that line. I when I watched that, I was like, I don't know if this is like if it's a jab at that way of thinking,
I think it
but in the
is.
context of today, that's an amazing line. Like I'm like
They definitely are
absolutely.
kind of like making the lesbian character like the man-hating stereotype kind of shit. And so
Yeah,
like
that's
I
what
do think
yeah.
it is a joke at the time, but I was like watching, I was like, no, Ovester would actually be awesome. Let's do it.
And I mean, again, looking through it through today's lens, where we have more and more like just a clearer view of how like how patriarchy functions and how male-driven the society is, even down to the words that we use. It's very powerful. It's very like this is a very serious point she's making, like
Yeah.
why are we revolving around semen instead of ovaries? Like, you know?
I mean, it is silly, but also like her character was not coming at it from like a wrong angle. Like she's like a serious character put into a comedy movie. Like
I
she's
I
not.
kid you not. Watching it when I watched it like for this, I did not take that as a joke. I
Huh, yeah.
I I just I'm not done with it yet, but I've been reading Invisible Women, which
Hmm.
is the whole book is data driven. Um exactly that, how patriarchy is woven into every
Right.
single seam of
Right.
our society, down to our language, down to how we build our streets, down to the schedule that we keep, everything
Yeah.
is shaped around men. And there's data to support this. So when I heard that line, it wasn't a joke to me. I was
Hey,
like,
she was ahead of her time, man.
yes, that's how I took it. I was like, this woman was ahead of her time. I was like, this is a fantastic line. So,
She'd be leading some good like feminist chapters wherever she ended up now, you know, like
exactly.
well, thank you, Karina, for joining me and talking about Legally Blonde. It was a lot of fun and it's just it's hard not to love this movie and have a good time with it. And it's really I think it's really special when a movie can be both just like really fun and funny and but while also still making a really good point and still having a lot of depth to the way it approaches that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you for having me. I always love chatting about movies with you. This is definitely a good one. So,
Of
thank you.
course, come back soon.
Yeah.
Thanks. What's not to love about Legally Blonde, right? It was a lot of fun to get to dive into it. Remember, I always link to my guests' work in the episode notes and in the blog for each episode on the podcast's official site. Karina has created so many amazing things, so please do check her art out. Also, pretty please consider subscribing and sharing the podcast. What, like it's hard? Thanks for listening, everyone.